Syria welcomes UN Security Council resolution number 2107, ending Iraq's state under the 7th chapter. And terrorist Mahmoud Hassan tells Syrian TV how he carried out a terrorist explosion at the TV building last August. And thousands of Bahrainis take to the streets of Satra Island to protest Al Khalifa's oppressive policies. Good afternoon, this is news in English from the Syrian Arab Television in Damascus. An official source at the Foreign and Expatriates Ministry said that Syria welcomes UN Security Council resolution number 2107, ending Iraq's state under Chapter 7th of the Charter. The source added that the resolution puts an end to the long stage of suffering for the Iraqi people. And in related news, the Iraqi Prime Minister Nouri al-Maliki stressed that being silent about the sectarian killing fatwas is the real danger threatening everyone in the region. In his speech during the ceremony of Iraq's withdrawal from the 7th chapter provisions, al-Maliki said that the Iraqis have besieged al-Qaeda and the other terrorists through the national reconciliation, indicating that the sectarian mobilization is considered the real danger that threatens the entire region. Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov reiterated Russia's commitment to holding an international conference to solve the crisis in Syria, affirming that supplying more weapons to the Syrian opposition, as he called it, hinders the conference and is a violation of all international resolutions. Speaking at a press conference with Moscow's counterpart Saididin al-Uthmani in Moscow, Lavrov said that Russia is committed to covering and convening the international conference in Syria, according to what has been agreed upon with the Americans on May 7th. Lavrov added that providing weapons to the opposition, which have recently intensified, only means that the precondition set by the foreign-backed militants to restore a balance of power on the battleground is supported by the West and other countries, which are going to supply such weapons, referring that this step contradicts the very concept of the conference, which is to begin without any preconditions. He went on to say that the Western-backed opposition said it won't be attending the conference unless certain conditions are met. Iranian President-elect Hassan Rouhani warned against the foreign plans to strike the region, stressing the necessity for confronting the project of the new Middle East. Addressing the National Media Forum in Tehran, Rouhani said that as Iran, the biggest regional state, it should play a historic role in the region through adopting the policy of moderation. He affirmed that dialogue with other states should be based on mutual respect and interests. Spanish Supreme Court issued a warrant for search and arrest for 2 terrorists who are linked to 8 other terrorists who were arrested earlier last week for their role in attracting terrorists and sending them to fight in Syria with armed terrorist groups here. According to a Spanish media source, the Spanish National Court judge issued a search and arrest warrant for the 2 terrorists of Moroccan origin. Their names are Ismail Abdul-Latif, aged 38 years old, who resides in Belgium, and Ahmed Yassin Biso, aged 39 years old, a member of Al-Qaeda terrorist organization, who is on charges of forming terrorist groups and transferring them to Syria. The Spanish newspaper El País quoted the investigating judge as saying that terrorist Ismail Abdul-Latif traveled to Syria early on April of last year with a group of terrorists, one of them a terrorist who carried out a suicide attack in Syria, as Abdul-Latif repeated his visit to Syria for 3 other times, at least through Turkey, where Turkey took a role in developing and facilitating the terrorist operations, noting that during the second trip Abdul-Latif stayed with the 3 suicide bombers in a hotel in Iskenderun city in Turkey, and the third trip coincided with the recruit of new terrorists whom crossed the borders into Syria. The judge explained that the second terrorist, Ahmed Yassin Biso, is a member in a cell, as he is a candidate to be sent to fight in Syria, as he took training sessions and fitness. And he held several meetings with terrorists in the city of Sabta in Morocco, That was proved through telephone conversations he made. Terrorist Mahmoud Muhammad Hassan confessed to planting an explosive device in the general establishment of Syrian radio and television building in Damascus, which was detonated remotely on August 6, 2012, injuring a number of his co-workers.
محمد حسن من مواليد أرطوز 1982.
In confessions broadcast by the Syrian TV, Hassan said he works as a technician in Syria drama and Nur Sham channels at the general establishment of radio and television, where his father used to work before him. Hassan said his brother-in-law Muhammad tried to get him to join an armed group, but he refused. And at a later point he was taken by a man called Ahmed al-Shinawi to meet Muhammad and members of his armed group in Artuz, where the terrorists asked him to blow up the Syrian TV building in exchange for £1 million Syrian pounds, a fake passport, and promises of providing him with travel arrangements, lodgings and work abroad. When he asked the terrorists why they wanted to blow up the building, they told him that these instructions came from Saudi Arabia. Hassan agreed to execute the terrorist plan, and the Shinawi visited him in his home to teach him how to carry out the attack, giving him 2 soda cans containing a clear explosive liquid, instructing him to get him into the targeted building, and he complied and hid the cans in his personal closet. At a later point, Al-Shinawi brought Hassan 2 cigarette packs containing the parts of a detonator, and he took them to the building and awaited there until the end of his shift at 2 a.m. when he called his brother-in-law, who gave him his instructions. Hassan attached the detonator, which was connected to a cell phone, and the cans by wires, and then placed the device in a bag and headed to the control room in the building at 4 a.m. But it was crowded, and he was too scared to get there. So he planted it to an editing room and called his brother-in-law 30 minutes later, then left the building at 8 a.m. After arriving at his house, he reported to his brother-in-law again, and less than an hour later his wife told him that an explosion took place in the Syrian TV building, and 3 days later he went back to work as if nothing happened. The aforementioned bombing resulted in injuring 4 workers at the general establishment of radio and television, causing damage to equipment and rooms and shattering windows.
Authorities seized a car loaded with weapons and ammunition in Al-War neighborhood in Homs city. An official source said that the seized weapons included 19 automatic rifles, RPG launchers, 38 RPG rounds, 4 anti-tank missiles, 4 shoulder-mounted rockets, and 32 communication devices. Moving to Deir ez-Zor, where a unit of the Syrian armed forces clashed with terrorists in the Jbeli neighborhood in Deir ez-Zor, killing a number of them. An official source in the city said that another unit of the armed forces clashed with terrorists in the Bsera neighborhood in the city. A Syrian army unit targeted a gathering of al-Nusra front in the villages of Al-Hilwe, Al-Ghannamiyeh and Al-Rabi'a in the northern countryside of Latakia city, eliminating a large number of terrorists. An official source said that an army unit killed terrorists affiliated to al-Nusra front, including a terrorist leader from Chechnya. The source added that clashes erupted between 2 terrorist groups in a Dwerke village to the north of the city, causing the death of 9 terrorists. Thousands of Bahraini citizens protested yesterday in Satra Island, to the east of the capital Manama, denouncing the policies of Al-Khalifa's authorities and the authorities' continuous work to suppress the peaceful demands of the people for social reforms. The demonstrators demanded the stop of raids and arrests against opposition activists and the peaceful demonstrators, as well as releasing the detained ones. They also asked Prime Minister and the King's uncle, bin Salman to step down. The protesters chanted slogans, revolution, revolution till victory, and you won't threaten the people with torture. In a statement issued by the opposition at the end of the protest, the Bahraini opposition stressed that the security mentality that is taken by the Al Khalifa authorities, which messed up the Bahrain stability for decades, is still threatening the citizens and punishing them for their democratic demands, stressing the Bahraini people's insistence on demanding their legitimate rights. That was it. More details on our website www.syriaonline.sy. The government's steps to control soaring prices and the latest in the world of finance in our economic news, but after the break.
Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. Ministry of Domestic Trade and Consumer Protection stressed taking deterrent penalties and the necessary administrative and legal measures against those who are manipulating the prices with no morals. In a report, the ministry called on its directorates in the governorates to tighten their control on the local markets, specifically the wholesale markets, in order to adhere to the predetermined prices and the approved specifications and the use of the legal invoices in order to achieve the best results. The manager of the water establishment indicated that about 42.9 million cubic meters are being provided daily from the water resources in Damascus countryside, whereas the other amounts are being taken from the Damascus water network. He also said that the investment spending in the establishment reached 11%, while the establishment has worked on a plan for the projects of the year 2013 investment plan, pointing out that the projects include the resources of the water, wells, water networks, and the reservoirs and pumping stations, particularly that the total losses of the drinking water networks in Damascus countryside approached 60%. The plant production director referred to the reasons behind the decrease in the areas planted with cotton as retreating due to the difficult security conditions in some areas, adding that farmers have turned to cultivate vegetables due to their great revenues this season. He also said that the cotton cultivated areas reached 56.9 thousand hectares and the situation of water in the basins is acceptable, noting that the environmental conditions were good during the planting and growth periods, as there were no obstacles facing the crops, specifically with the continuing moderate weather. Futures of the Brent crude dropped in a volatile trading session, its longest losses sequence in 15 years, as the Brent futures for August delivery declined 66 cents per barrel, while the US crude were 8 cents high. The Jewelers Assembly set the price of the 21-carat gold at 7,100 Syrian pounds, whereas the Rashadi golden coin was set at 51,600 Syrian pounds and the English coin at 57,800 Syrian pounds. And now over to the exchange rates according to the bulletin of the Central Bank of Syria. Ladies and gentlemen, this was our economic news for today. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.